Hello, how are you doing?
Alberta is the only reason Canada works. That's not an opinion, that's math. 84% of Canada's oil comes from Alberta, 20% of the entire Canadian economy, $32 billion a year flowing to Ottawa. Now imagine that stops. Imagine Alberta votes yes. 52% choose independence. The referendum passes. The separation begins. What happens to Canada the next morning? The Canadian dollar collapses before the results are even certified. 9% down before noon, 13% by market close. Quebec wakes up $13 billion poorer. The transfer payment.
I don't know about that. Well, that part I do. The dollar, I'm not so sure that I can predict, or the AI script, whatever that is. I'm going to come back to this though. Just give me a second. We'll go over here to this thing. Oh. Hello, James. How are you doing? How are you doing, James?
Look at the numbers in the prairies. Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, that number jumps up to 9 out of every 10 individuals who reside in the prairies.
The U.S. administration is very enthusiastic about Alberta independence.
Working together to separate. The leader of the Parti Québécois here in Alberta on ways our province can work with Quebec on leaving Canada.
Western provinces just made formal announcements signaling their serious intent to pursue American statehood. And what I'm documenting here isn't speculation about whether they might leave possible.
There are now confirmations that U.S. State Department officials met with an Alberta separatist group. A spokesperson for the Alberta Prosperity Project confirmed he and other activists met with those officials in Washington last month.
Alberta, Quebec, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia are simultaneously building legal frameworks, mobilizing public support, and creating political conditions where departure from Confederation looks increasingly probable. And the polling data coming out reveals that even Canadians themselves believe American recognition and support for Western separation is virtually guaranteed at this point.
A recently released list from the Alberta Republicans claims 18 UCP MLAs are in favor of an independent Alberta.
So let me start with Alberta, because the internal political dynamics just shifted in ways that reveal how mainstream separation sentiment has become within the governing party itself. The Alberta Republicans recently released a list claiming that 18 UCP MLAs actively support Alberta independence.
The separatist Alberta Republicans say over a third of UCP MLAs support Alberta independence. This comes amid the petition to force a referendum on Alberta separating from Canada.
This represents over 1/3 of the governing caucus. And while several named MLAs, including Minister Grant Hunter, rushed to clarify their positions by saying they support sovereignty within a united Canada, that ambiguous phrasing tells you everything you need to know about how carefully elected officials are navigating this issue. When your environment minister won't definitively say that he opposes separation and uses language like sovereign Alberta within united Canada, that's a politician keeping his options open because he's reading the same polling numbers everyone else sees.
In Alberta, it's mostly driven by people feeling real grievance about the way the province has been treated.
What really matters here is that MLAs are being forced to take public position. Sovereign Alberta, how carefully elected. That ambiguous phrasing tells you everything you need to know about how carefully elected officials are navigating this issue. When your environment minister won't definitively say that he opposes separation and uses language like sovereign Alberta within united Canada.
Environment minister? What's this guy? This guy's having a bug. What's he talking about?
That's a politician keeping his options open because he's reading the same polling numbers everyone else sees.
In Alberta,
tells you everything.
Independence. This comes amid the petition to force a referendum on Alberta separating from Canada.
This represents over 1/3 of the governing caucus. And while several named MLAs, including Minister Grant Hunter, rushed to clarify their positions by saying they support sovereignty within a united Canada, that ambiguous phrasing tells you everything you need to know about how carefully elected officials are navigating this issue. When your environment minister won't definitively say that he opposes separation and uses language like sovereign Alberta within United Canada, that's a politician keeping his options open because he's reading the same polling numbers everyone else sees.
Maybe that person said that then, I guess.
In Alberta, it's mostly driven by people feeling real grievance about the way the province has been treated.
What really matters here is that MLAs are being forced to take public positions on separation petitions. And the fact that this conversation is happening inside the governing party rather than on the fringe
Thank you, man.
demonstrates how normalized independence talk has become. Joseph Scow from Cardston-Siksika has said he hasn't signed the petition, but believes.
Yeah. But obviously that was before the social media. That'd have been a whole different thing.
Canada can work if the federal government fights for Alberta's best interests, which is diplomatic language for saying if Ottawa doesn't change fundamentally, separation becomes necessary.
A lot of confusion around this, and part of the
Yeah, James, it was a good delivery, but do you think, I don't think it'll be good for independent Alberta because now there's I guess 10 things people are going to be voting on in 2026 if the petition goes through, which it probably will. I just think it's going to be confusing now. There's all these things to be voted on.
The confusion is the way that the premier has actually said what her desire is for this, sovereignty within a united Canada. I mean, that's so ambiguous.
Even Premier Danielle Smith's statement that she hasn't signed any petitions because citizen-initiated processes are meant for citizens reveals her strategic position.
Yeah, exactly, William. Like, there's going to be those questions now, but I think the questions will happen either maybe on the same day or very close to one another, but now it's just so confusing. Now all these people are going to have to sit and wonder what exactly they're voting on. I don't know. Maybe it's smart politics from Danielle Smith on her part, but I don't know.
Because she's not opposing the petitions. She's staying neutral and watching to see if they hit signature
Thanks, Pops. Yeah, that was funny.
Thresholds
Farmer Joe
that would legally require her government to hold referendums.
Personally, and as far as I know, that we are supporting independent province.
I think the critical point here is that when over a third of your governing caucus either supports independence or carefully avoids opposing it, you're looking at a political party that's preparing for the possibility that separation wins a referendum.
At least one political science believes sooner or later all MLAs will have to say definitively if they support separation.
These MLAs understand their political survival depends on reading public sentiment correctly. And
when Canadians were asked what the likelihood is of the U.S. supporting Alberta separation, what did we see there?
Wow. Can I just say that? We asked a question. Never thought I'd be asking a question like this, Lauren.
Here's the polling data that I think changes everything.
Yeah, I think so for sure, William.
About how seriously we should take Western separation. Because NANO's research just released numbers showing that 8 out of every 10 Canadians believe the United States would likely support Alberta separation.
How likely or unlikely do you think the U.S. would support Alberta separation? And, check out the numbers. And these are Canadians, right? So you can see 46%.
So let that sink in for a moment. Because
yeah, I wonder what'll happen, James. Like, I've seen some people online saying that it muddies the waters. I haven't seen a whole lot of commentary on what will be the effects of Danielle Smith's announcement there for Alberta independence, but I'm sure a lot of people will be making videos on that tomorrow. I mean, I kind of already gave my thoughts on it just in the last live stream I did, but I am also interested to see the reaction to this from by people like Jeff Rath, Keith Wilson, whoever.
We're not talking about Albertans believing this. We're talking about Canadians nationally recognizing that American support for Alberta leaving Canada is probable rather than impossible. When 46% of Canadians say it's likely, and another 38% say that it's somewhat likely that America would back Alberta's departure, you're looking at widespread recognition that the geopolitical conditions for separation already exist.
So that they're likely to believe that the Americans are likely to support another 38. That makes over 8 out of every 10 Canadians believe.
What makes these numbers even more striking is the regional breakdown. Because when you look specifically at the prairie provinces, including Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, that belief jumps to 9 out of every 10 residents thinking American support is likely. Nick Nanos described it perfectly when he said that people in America and the White House look at Alberta like a pork chop, meaning they see Alberta as the energy heartland with resources they want to control.
But the surprise bit.
But isn't that that's a pretty anti-Alberta comment there from this David guy? Again, probably AI, but.
Is that Alberta is almost the same at 28%. That's the first time I think I've ever said that.
Wow. I didn't know the numbers were that high.
Yeah, there is.
I believe this barrier preventing separation collapses.
They just see something. Alberta is the energy heartland of the country. And I think for a lot of Canadians in this particular environment, they see discontent in Alberta.
The fact that Canadians themselves believe American recognition is highly probable transforms the entire separation debate, because international recognition is the critical factor that determines.
Yeah, I think that's the best case. And then they can be, Alberta and USA can just be strong trading partners.
Whether independence movements succeed or fail.
They believe, at least Canadians believe, that the U.S. has Alberta in its crosshairs and would support Alberta separation.
If Canadians across the country already believe America would support Alberta leaving, then the big people who would be.
Quebec these days, if you ask people whether or not they'd vote to separate from Canada, it's about 31% in our polling. Pretty consistent with what we're seeing every place else.
Quebec's role in this scenario just became even more interesting because Nanos polling shows that Quebecers have slightly lower numbers on whether America would support Alberta separation, sitting around 70%.
Okay, I'm gonna go to this video here. I've not watched this yet. Maybe I watched the first minute, but it's called Canada Without Alberta. Again, I think it is AI. But the first minute or so is pretty interesting.
Alberta is the only reason Canada works. That's not an opinion, that's math. 84% of Canada's oil comes from Alberta, 20% of the entire Canadian economy, $32 billion a year flowing to Ottawa. Now imagine that stops. Imagine Alberta votes yes. 52% choose independence. The referendum passes. The separation begins. What happens to Canada the next morning? The Canadian dollar collapses before the results are even certified. 9% down before noon.
I like how this whatever this AI, whatever this is just giving definite projections.
13% by market close. Quebec wakes up $13 billion poorer.
This part would be true, but predicting what's going to happen to the Canadian dollar is pretty funny.
9% down before noon, 13% by market close. Quebec wakes up $13 billion poorer. The transfer payments that funded their health care, their schools, their entire social safety net, gone overnight. The
Yeah, USA won, William. Good job. They won in overtime.
Times they're on the phone with Ottawa begging for emergency funds. But Ottawa doesn't have emergency funds. Ottawa just lost 20% of its revenue. And here's the part that should terrify every Canadian watching. It doesn't stop with Alberta. Saskatchewan is watching. British Columbia is divided. And by the time Ottawa figures out how to respond, they might not have a country left to save. This is not speculation. The petition is live right now. Signatures are being collected across Alberta. The deadline is May 2nd. The referendum is October. Let me show you exactly what Canada looks like without Alberta and why what's left might not survive the decade. Day one.
Yeah, but that's not even the right province. That was Saskatchewan. Look at that. That's so funny. You're cutting out the wrong place there. Canada Without Alberta video.
Let me show you exactly what Canada looks like without Alberta and why what's
not only that, you're going up into the territories. You just totally missed.
Left might not survive.
You got most of Manitoba too. That's just such a different part of the country than Alberta.
Decade. Day one. The market's open. Currency traders don't wait for speeches. They don't wait for official statements. They see the referendum results and they do math. Alberta gone means 20% of GDP gone. Alberta gone means energy exports crippled. Alberta gone means federal debt obligations concentrated on fewer provinces with less capacity to pay. So they sell. They sell everything with Canadian exposure. The Bank of Canada calls an emergency meeting by 9 a.m. Governor Tiff
This is so stupid. It's entertaining to watch, but just this entire scenario concocted here.
Macklem faces two options: raise interest rates to defend the dollar, which will crush borrowing and trigger a recession, or let the dollar fall, which will spike inflation and make every import unaffordable. He raises rates. It's the wrong choice, but there are no right choices anymore. By Friday, the Canadian dollar settles around 61 cents against the US dollar. That's a 20% decline from pre-referendum levels. Everything Canadians import now costs 20% more. Gas, food, electronics, medicine, 20% more expensive overnight. But here's what I need you to understand. The currency crash isn't the crisis.
This video sucks. I thought this video was going to be better. It's just this is just going into this crazy scenario that you can't even play out right now.
80% nationally, which I find fascinating because implicated internationally largely.
But a new Angus Reid poll shows only 47% of Albertans are optimistic about Canada's future, while over 60% in Manitoba, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada are most optimistic.
Here's my critical analysis of Quebec's strategic position, which is that they benefit enormously if Western provinces leave, but they lose if Alberta successfully negotiates American statehood before Quebec can leverage the chaos. If Alberta exits and struggles economically as an independent nation, that strengthens Ottawa's negotiating position against Quebec in future sovereignty discussions.
A separation referendum has been lowered in Alberta, and a referendum petition is making the rounds here at home too. But is separation actually possible?
But if Alberta exits and immediately gets American recognition with economic benefits, that proves separation works and potentially forces Ottawa to offer Quebec better terms to prevent them from following Alberta's path. I believe Quebec's political establishment is
What's everyone up to tonight? I asked this question I think most times, but is anyone doing a vacation this winter? Anyone going to Mexico or anything like that?
watching Alberta's process very carefully because the precedent Alberta won both pursue Americans to joining a Western coalition or maintaining Ottawa across foreign territory.
We're putting in the work at the provincial level, but we need to hear the federal leaders talk about you, the people, and put you first.
The polling showing Manitoba residents believe American support is virtually guaranteed suggests they're already mentally preparing for that choice. And when 90% of people in a province think something is likely to happen, that belief itself starts making the outcome inevitable.
You know, this would be an opportunity for Aboriginal groups in Canada to actually have a say in their future. Well, because they would have to, because if this went to the one of the end stages, it would be Canada, Alberta, and Aboriginal groups sitting around at the table to determine the future of how things happen.
I think Manitoba's position is particularly important.
That'd be crazy. I don't think, though, that is plausible. I think Alberta is a little more conservative than Saskatchewan on average. So I would say a little more likely to vote for a separation than Saskatchewan would be, I think. Yeah.
Important.
It'd be pretty close, though. I guess what you're saying there, it's not impossible. I mean, I suppose that could happen, but
they control critical infrastructure, including hydroelectric capacity and transportation corridors that Alberta and Saskatchewan desperately need for Western Confederation to even.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at this here. Smith's office denies racism, scapegoating allegations. I don't know what this is, but just for fun, we'll take a look at this.
The office of Alberta's premier facing allegations of racism.
That's sick. Yeah, Texas is great. What's the weather like there today? Do you live kind of close to Austin, or do you ever get to Austin? I'd love to go to Austin and see the new comedy clubs they got there, like the Rogan Comedy Club, Kill Tony show, stuff like that.
Ahead of her TV address, Danielle Smith, widely expected to make an...
Yeah, they were. I'll play that actually after this for fun. I don't even know the rules of curling, but they touch the stone when you're not supposed to, I think.
announcement about immigration and the budget, but a social media post from her executive director is drawing fierce condemnation. On Wednesday morning, Bruce McAllister claimed that Canada has unsustainable mass immigration before writing, quote, "Why import from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here?" That drew condemnation from former NDP MLA Shannon Phillips and political strategists Zane Velji and Stephen Carter.
Hey, this is actually pretty interesting. I might do a video on this.
Mass immigration before writing, quote, "Why import from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here?" That drew
holy crap. Canada's so soft.
Make an announcement about immigration and
I'm
the
just restarting
budget.
the video. I want to get the context of what I'm even reacting to here.
The office of Alberta's premier facing allegations of racism ahead of her TV address. Danielle Smith, widely expected to make an announcement about immigration and the budget, but a social media post from her executive director is drawing fierce condemnation. On Wednesday morning, Bruce McAllister claimed that Canada has unsustainable mass immigration before writing, quote, "Why import from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here?" That drew condemnation.
Oh my gosh, man. Of course that will.
From former NDP MLA Shannon Phillips and political strategists Zane Velji and Stephen Carter.
Are we shocked by this? Are we surprised?
I kind of am. I kind of am with that, man. Like, I'm reading this is his real account. I also wanted to make sure that I'm not oh, it's still up.
They're
It's
racists.
I don't know, man.
It's okay to say it.
McAllister.
Holy crap. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a video on this. Maybe not tonight, but what a bunch of crybabies. You actually, in Canada, you literally can't even have a position on anything that's right of center pretty much. Maybe economics, you can a little bit. You won't really get condemned, but anything like this, just saying, why import from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here? Like, then these people call that racist. Fuck these idiots, man. That's such a joke. The people that are call that racist are the actual scumbags.
Oh, it's still up.
They're
It's
racists.
I don't know, man.
It's okay to say it.
Fuck you, you idiot. Oh my gosh.
McAllister didn't respond to City News's request for comment, but Rob Anderson, the Premier's chief of staff, wrote in response, "Those that accuse others of racism for pointing out that current immigration
Yes, let's go.
levels in Canada are unsustainable should seek help."
That is so based. Is this Canada? I've never seen a statement like that from any Canadian politician. Let's go. Finally. Oh my gosh. Who is this guy? Rob Anderson. I guess the chief of staff. Okay, chief of staff. So
I wish Mr. Carter the best and hope he gets the assistance and attention he so clearly needs. Smith was asked about McAllister's post at a Wednesday press conference.
Western society is based on the Socratic Judeo-Christian tradition. If you go back and look about why it is.
According, though, to people like this, Western society is literally based on nothing. It's based on, I guess you could say probably they would say colonialism, perhaps, and stealing and white privilege. These people are sick.
Western society is based on the Socratic Judeo-Christian tradition. If you go back and look about why it is we have the society we do, there's no question that there are some foundational influences to that. However, Alberta was also created since 1905 based on the immense diaspora communities that come here.
In a statement, the NDP said the Premier is scapegoating and playing the blame game for problems her government created. But the Premier defended her team's rhetoric on immigration and changes they propose to take more control of it from Ottawa. When Smith.
Yeah, Maple Boy, no, I don't. We're never going to be able to diversify enough that it will matter. And Trump has just proven that he believes in tariffs for a bunch of reasons.
Was asked what kind of immigrants she approved of. Her response focused mostly
A good question, Maple Boy. You can ask questions like that. I like questions like that.
On money.
You have to be a taxpayer before you start using our services. And we've had the reverse. We've had people who are heavy users of our services and might not even be a taxpayer, might not even have a prospect to get a job. And that's just that's creating a lot of tension in society, and that's something that we've got to address.
The premier is set to answer questions about her speech on Friday morning. Sean Amato, City News, Edmonton.
That was so awesome. That line, that was so funny. Holy crap. Should seek help.
Alberta Primetime.
Just getting another video here. There hasn't actually been that many videos on Alberta Independence for a little bit from like the mainstream news, but that's okay.
Promoting the Alberta separatist movement have appeared south of the border in Yuma, Arizona. Stay Free Alberta posted this image online calling on snowbirds to show up at an event and sign the petition aimed at triggering a referendum.
This is funny, man. That is so, I love that. That's hilarious.
Now, signs promoting the Alberta separatist movement have appeared south of the border in Yuma, Arizona. Stay
I've never even been to Arizona. I want to go there someday.
Free Alberta posted this image online calling on snowbirds to show up at an event and sign the petition aimed at triggering a referendum. In a statement to CTV News, Elections Alberta says signatures collected outside the province are allowed. Now, signs promoting the Alberta separatist movement have appeared.
Yeah, I don't know, Maple Boy, maybe.
Their primary.
I know Carney's trying to do that, but is it going to work? Because I don't think that Keir Starmer necessarily went along with his Davos speech, and it's going to be very difficult for Carney to actually achieve what he wants to. I don't believe in Carney at all to do that, but I don't know. Maybe, I guess you'll be right, but
their primary interest is in, having a rational government governing the third largest oil field in the world, and specifically not having
signed a memorandum. Yeah. Yeah. By 2040, we'll have this figured out.
A communist Chinese adjacent government in Ottawa continually doing everything they can to shut in, the amazing resources that we have in this province that should be developed fully for the benefit of the entire world. Which, currently, as the momentum has been picking up and as we've been running, moving forward towards independence with all of the massive support that we now have in Alberta, I think we're polling over 40% right now in Alberta. Last poll I saw was we were at 41%. So, as all of this momentum is growing, it's clear that the people in our movement are not interested in freeing themselves from the clutches of the federal government and the clutches of the Canada Revenue Agency just to put ourselves under yet another government 3,500 miles away that doesn't understand us and, is.
Yeah, totally, Holly. That was funny, though, that statement. I love how the person, the chief of staff, actually fought back there. The CPC never does that at a federal level. They'll just be like, okay, I guess we're racist then. We're sorry.
Is going to.
They wouldn't say that, but their actions would imply that, in my opinion, for sure.
Make tax policy in Washington, that doesn't make sense for Albertans, because we're confident that a free and independent Alberta, within literally months of independence, could become a zero income tax regime where we have no income tax, GST, corporate income tax.
To be honest, I don't know about the zero income tax thing. I don't know where he would be getting that from. I believe in a lot of the other stuff, the lower tax, but I mean, maybe zero income tax is just a good way to sell it. Like maybe it's hyperbole, but maybe not. Maybe he actually thinks that. I would just like maybe more of a breakdown of how that'd be possible, but there's no question that the taxes would go down, in my opinion, by a substantial amount. But zero income tax, I mean, that is very ambitious.
GST, corporate income tax, etc., and that Alberta would be able to, operate as one of the lowest taxed, lowest regulated regimes in
This I agree with. One of the lowest taxed, lowest regulated regimes. Absolutely.
North America, which is our goal in all of this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think some of us like the thought maybe of, US President Donald Trump, but we have to remember that it wasn't that long ago that we had President Biden, and that could happen again in the States.
Oh, God. Can you imagine President Kamala Harris? I mean, we've been governed by gibbering idiots long enough. We don't need to sign up for that. That's for sure. Their primary interest is in, having a
Just one sec here. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here. This is Berta Proud Dad. He reacted to the Danielle Smith address like I did, right? But I'm not going to play all that. I'm just going to go to the moment that I guess Danielle Smith is off the screen and then just see what Berta Proud Dad says kind of immediately after her address finishes. Let's see what he says.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow is all I have to say. That's leadership. That is absolute leadership. Who's with?
Sounds like he likes it. But well, I mean, I don't know. We'll get not his full statement, but to be totally honest, I didn't think her video is good for Alberta independence, but that's just my opinion. Because I do think it's going to confuse people.
Me on that. Can we just give Danielle a round of applause?
The thing is, Danielle Smith, that's the entire video Danielle Smith made. If the context was there was no Alberta independence petition happening, it would be like the greatest thing ever. I would love it so much because it'd be like the only time in Canada really some prominent petition or politician was actually standing up for anything. But you got to look at that in the context of the Alberta independence petition, I think.
Can we just give her a round of applause? And while we're doing that, can you hear it? Can you hear it? That is Naheed Nenshi and his comms team right now writing his speech, his rebuttal to this. Racist. Racist.
That's funny. Yeah, he's probably right.
Racist. I want everybody to count how many times and
did they say that? Did the Somalis say that? Isn't that a Jewish thing? This was promised to me 3,000 years ago.
LA from the
I think they said that as a troll. Didn't they say that as a troll? Ilhan Omar and stuff. Oh my gosh.
UCP, including Naheed Nenshi, says the term racist tomorrow or even tonight if he puts it on one of his channels, but probably tomorrow, right? And we're already getting it in the chat here on Facebook. Racist. No, I'm sorry, lady. We're done with your bullshit. Okay, we're done. You don't just get to put.
Does he stream on Facebook too? Because I've thought about going to Facebook. Maybe I should, but I don't know. I haven't really used Facebook in a long time, other than Marketplace sometimes to find like a place to live, like a place to rent. But that was even a long time ago. So
blanket labels on shit because you
Facebook's big, so maybe I should be on Facebook as well.
Disagree. Okay, Albertans deserve a voice. Danielle Smith is giving them that voice. We're going to a referendum. What a great way to put it to the province. And for the people out there that are saying racist, if you don't like it, fucking leave. Leave. Go. If you want to go to a province that just dictates and doesn't give Albertans a voice, pick up your shit and get out. Because we're done with you. We're done. This is leadership. This is true leadership. This is about protecting sovereignty, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this is. It's direct democracy. It's go to the people. Hey, listen, we have a problem with immigration. Like this question, for instance. You know, and I want to see thumbs up if you agree with this question that you're going to be asked in October on a referendum because Danielle Smith gave it to us. Do you support the government of Alberta taking increased control over immigration for the purpose of decreasing immigration to more suitable levels, prioritizing economic migration, and giving Albertans
Hey, I want to go see, I'll play this, but
priority on new employment opportunities?
I'm finding another video here.
Would that be a good question? Hey, would that be a good one?
I'm going to go see what PJ the Belt had to say about Danielle's speech, because he did the same thing, it looks like. Yeah, he's reacting live. And again, I'm just going to get when the video ends, because maybe he's reacting throughout, but I'll just get the point where the stream ends and then what PJ is going to say here. And my bad. I had it doesn't matter. Everything I was saying applies. I just didn't have the right screen on. Here we go. This is PJ right after Danielle Smith's address.
All right. So that was the Premier's announcement. That was relatively quick, relatively brief. I don't even have any more material for you guys. That's it. I thought she was going to talk for like an hour or something, guys. No, I'm just kidding. I did have some things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Take advantage of the time that I have. And I also want to discuss what just happened. What do you guys make of this? Like, it looks like she's finally going after what's happening with
That's pretty shredded.
immigration, like the ridiculousness of our immigration system. It has become completely unsustainable. Anyone who lives in Alberta, actually, here's a good one. The number one name, they were lying too. Is like, oh, the number one name, the number one baby name out here in Alberta. They were saying it was, what was it, babe?
Mohammed.
Noah. So my wife is like, oh, look, a baby name.
But I'm not his babe.
Name is Noah. I guess we're not all lost yet. Number 8 was Mohammed, right? But someone brought up the fact that Mohammed, like there's different ways to spell that name, right? There's like Mohammed with 2 M's, there's with 1 M, there's with an A, there's with an E, there's with a U, there's with an O. There's a million ways to spell that name, right? And when you put all of those together, it just so happens that Mohammed, it's actually...
Okay, but what do you think about the speech?
It's actually no... We're not... Yes, I said after Austin, baby boy. And in Ontario petition, she needs time. These things do take time, but certain things is like, come on, ma'am. Come on, ma'am. Like, just get to it. Like, start working on these things right now. Like, paying taxes for just. I think that's because soldiers. And I have a feeling we're gonna see a lot of Chinese ally by
whatever. Maybe he doesn't have an immediate.
But even that got out of control because a lot of people have been using the refugee program to their advantage. They come here as
land of First Nations chief files sweeping land claim in Quebec.
Defenders and ancestral chiefs say they've long fought on the ground to protect these forests in Quebec. Now they're taking their fight to the court, claiming title rights to 3 swaths of the province in the Haute-Mauricie and Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean areas north of Montreal. We can no longer continue to block the roads to loggers and to put ourselves in danger, says Hereditary Chief Dave Pettiquet. We tried negotiating with the government. We tried everything. This suit seeks to assert ownership rights of the traditional land to ancestral chiefs, not elected band councils.
It's going to mark Canadian history for sure.
Their lawyer says his mandate is to take this case all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary.
Those people are living there way before the crown arrives, way before our government decides to do this or to do that. And so we're claiming that ancestral right, which is also an ancestral title.
The land defenders and ancestral chiefs say they want to decide who can log on their land and receive compensation. Their filing to the Quebec Superior Court comes in the wake of the landmark Cowichan decision in Richmond, BC, an intense battle recognizing Aboriginal title to a patch of land outside Vancouver. It has thrown into question private property rights of about 100 landowners, and there's an appeal. In Quebec, the chiefs and land defenders say they have no intention of expropriating anyone. To their knowledge, their claim covers no privately owned property. This is land we've lived on for millennials, says Lisanne Petitquet. Since the invasion of the forest industry, we've been trying to preserve it. Land defenders and hereditary chiefs say they know they're embarking on a long process, and they expect pushback from logging companies and the government. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Okay, I'm going to finish my stream there. I'll probably make
It
some
has been
videos on my
too
other
close to
YouTube
call.
channel. But anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Have a great evening.